If you know a thing or two about space, you must have heard about NASA and the Hubble Telescope. And if you don't, you need to get acquainted with them. When NASA made the Hubble Telescope, it had an estimated lifespan. However, the space agency is looking for ways to extend this lifespan. There are a lot of devices currently orbiting around the planet in space, including satellites, the International Space Station, and some costly space telescopes that have been in use for decades. One of those space telescopes is the Hubble Telescope, named after astronomer Edwin Hubble, and is considered one of NASA's great observatories. The Hubble Telescope's orbit outside the Earth's atmosphere allows the device to capture high-resolution images with significantly lower background light than ground-based telescopes. And yes, it is way better than your iPhone camera. This telescope has captured some of the most comprehensive visible light images, which allows an in-depth view of space. Many observations made with the Hubble Telescope have led to many breakthroughs in astrophysics, including determining the universe's rate of expansion. The Hubble Telescope was launched in 1990 and is the only space telescope built to be maintained in space by astronauts. There have been 5 space shuttle missions to repair, upgrade, and replace the systems on the telescope, including all 5 of its main instruments. The Hubble Telescope completed 30 years of operation in April 2020 and is predicted to last until 2030 to 2040. Just like most 30-year-olds now, the Hubble Space Telescope has a sore back and is being upstaged by its younger, more vibrant counterpart, the James Webb Space Telescope, which is bigger, more powerful, and is beaming back images of the universe that have astronomers drooling. However, that doesn't mean that the Hubble Telescope is through, as this space telescope is one of the largest and most versatile ones ever made, well known as an essential research tool and a public relations boon for astronomy. Plus, it still has a few more years left in it, and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, for those who don't know what NASA stands for, has made plans to extend the telescope's lifespan as much as possible. This is where SpaceX comes into the conversation. SpaceX is well known for its endeavors in space travel and the development of space tech, and while the company's main mission is to get to Mars, they've made many other devices to improve space travel. Their proficiency in the space department has caused them to be called upon by the United States Space Agency in the hopes of collaborating to extend the life of one of the most useful space telescopes ever made. Just like every 30-year-old out there, life isn't done with the Hubble Space Telescope just yet, as NASA believes that there is more life in the device. This might seem like a slim chance, but Elon Musk's space technology company could possibly step in to give the Hubble Telescope a helping hand. On Thursday, September 22, 2022, SpaceX and NASA signed an unfunded Space Act agreement to study the possibility of a SpaceX and Polaris program idea to move the space agency's Hubble Space Telescope into a higher orbit with a Crew Dragon spacecraft at no cost to the government. There are no plans for the space agency to conduct or fund a servicing mission or compete for this opportunity, as the study is intended to help the space agency understand the commercial possibilities of the Hubble Space Telescope. NASA, SpaceX, and Jared Isaacman, a commercial astronaut with the Polaris program, held a media teleconference on September 22nd to publicize a feasibility study that will look at the possibility of sending a commercial Dragon spacecraft to push the Hubble, placing the space telescope in a higher and more stable orbit than it is currently. The study is projected to take up to 6 months and will collect technical data from the Hubble Telescope and the SpaceX Dragon spacecraft. This data will decide whether it would be technically feasible for the Crew Dragon to safely rendezvous, dock, and move the telescope into a more stable orbit. None of the teleconference participants were prepared to outline any detailed plans on what a Hubble reboost mission might look like, and whether it would even require a crew to be on board. In partnership with billionaire commercial astronaut Jason Isaacman and his Polaris program, SpaceX suggested this study to understand better the technical challenges related to NASA's servicing missions. Other corporations may propose similar studies with different spacecraft or rockets as their model, especially considering this study is non-exclusive. Enjoying how informative this video is? Before we continue talking about the plans to extend the Hubble Space Telescope's life, ensure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to find more tech-related videos. Elon Musk and SpaceX plan to take up this study with the support of billionaire private astronaut Jason Isaacman and his Polaris program to determine the possibility of it being a success. The Hubble Space Telescope is currently orbiting the planet at an altitude of 332 miles, putting it on a plan to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere in the mid-2030s. The main goal of this reboost mission would be to take the Hubble Telescope back up to 372 miles, where it was at the start of its mission. NASA believes a plan like this could be successful and give the Hubble Telescope another 15 or 20 years of life. The Hubble Telescope's orbit has been slowly decaying over time, and according to Hubble project manager Patrick Cruz, the Space Telescope has dropped around 19 miles since its last servicing mission in 2009. That said, it has a projected 50% probability of re-entering the planet's atmosphere in 2037 if nothing is done. The space agency hopes that the Hubble Telescope will remain operational till the end of that decade, and boosting it could add years to its life. I mean, who wouldn't want to live longer, right? Simply getting the Hubble Telescope into a higher orbit would be a bonus for science, but that's easier said than done. The Crew Dragon was made to dock with the International Space Station, not an aging space telescope from the early 90s. This plan might involve using a capture mechanism from the final shuttle mission to grab the Space Telescope. The space agency is also not excluding a plan to perform a series of maintenance on the aging Space Telescope, which has suffered a lot of hardware failures in the past few years. However, the space agency doesn't expect a commercial operation like the one being proposed will be able to match the intricacy of missions completed by space shuttle crews. The Associate Administrator for the Science Mission Directorate at NASA headquarters in Washington, Thomas Zurbuchen, said, "This study is an exciting example of the innovative approaches NASA is exploring through private-public partnerships. As our fleet grows, we want to explore a wide range of opportunities to support the most robust, superlative science missions possible." Although the Hubble Telescope and the Dragon spacecraft will serve as test models for this study, parts of the mission concept may apply to other spacecraft, especially satellites in near-Earth orbit like Hubble. Jessica Jensen, the Vice President of Customer Operations and Integration at SpaceX, said, "SpaceX and the Polaris program want to expand the boundaries of current technology and explore how commercial partnerships can creatively solve challenging complex problems. Missions such as servicing Hubble would help us expand space capabilities to ultimately help all of us achieve our goals of becoming a spacefaring, multiplanetary civilization." This partnership between NASA and SpaceX might be everything the Hubble Space Telescope needs, and Jared Isaacman will be helpful too. Jared Isaacman, the founder of the payment processing firm Shift4 Payments, commissioned a flight from SpaceX in 2021 that took him and 3 other private citizens to outer space for 3 days, making them the first all-civilian crew to reach orbit. Now, Jared is paying for 3 more flights, each built to enter new territory as part of what he refers to as the Polaris program. The first flight is planned for March and will send another crew of private civilians further than any other human spaceflight mission since Apollo. The mission would also involve the first civilian astronaut spacewalk. Jared has been quiet about what the second trip would involve, but on September 22nd, he made it clear that he wants to send an all-civilian crew to move the Hubble Telescope to a higher orbit. This proposal is a bit tricky for NASA, as the space agency cannot just award Jared Isaacman or SpaceX a mission, even if it costs the government nothing. Federal procurement rules state that there must be competition to offer such services, which is why NASA officials have stressed that the study of this proposal is only a study. NASA and SpaceX stated that over the next 6 months, they want to explore how the Dragon spacecraft would dock with the Space Telescope, what modifications would be made, or if the mission could be done without any crew members aboard. What are your thoughts on this space project? Let us know in the comment section below what you think the future would look like with it in play. And you don't want to miss this next video.